State Senator Dave Syverson's with us. Dave, good morning.
Well, good morning. A little chilly up there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot warmer in Springfield, what with all the hot air being blown out after yesterday's budget address.
Well, a little chilly response from some people, but I guess it's not one of those things that, I told you so last year when they were passing a budget that was at a record amount of being unbalanced and overspending, and that there was going to be consequences. And unfortunately, now we have to face the piper.
Before we go any further, Dave, you've got to tell us, hopefully you know, who was the one member, the single member applauding for tax hikes yesterday?
Well, I know you'll be shocked, but it was a Chicago Democrat.
What?
I know.
Oh, I owe Scot $5. I was thinking downstate Republican. I don't know why I bet that.
Yes, it was. Like I said, most people, responsible people, knew this was coming, and now we have people coming out there blaming the governor for making these deep cuts. And the Constitution says the governor can only introduce a budget based on the revenue he has to spend.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Quinn and those who voted for last year's budget spent almost $5 billion more this current year than there was money available, Rauner has to not only pay that $5 billion, but another $6.5 billion of unpaid bills from the previous 3 years. So he's got a huge hole that has to be filled, and unfortunately, someone has to make the adult decisions. And this won't be the final version,
mm-hmm.
but we've got to come up with a budget that spends $3 to $4 billion less than last year.
State Senator Dave Syverson with us. It's Rauner and Scot on WROK. Let's start with this year, because right at the start of the speech, the governor said he believes a resolution to fill the hole for the current budget could be just days away. Have you been briefed? Do you know any details on what that might entail?
Well, it's going to mostly entail coming up with a combination of doing some short-term borrowing, because the problem, as we raised before, is they passed a budget last May that obligated the state for 12 months to pay certain amounts of money to daycares, to hospitals, to schools. And so there's a legal obligation there. They just never put any money in it to fund those things, so there's a hole. So how do we make those payments at least the best we can? And the combination is delaying some payments, but then others we have to borrow money to make that good. But we have to pay that borrowed money back out of next year's budget, which again is making that next year's budget more difficult.
You know, as I sit here and read some of the reaction from the other side of the aisle to the governor's budget speech yesterday, the one thing that I'm seeing, the thread that's running through all of them is, let's just soak people who make some money here. Come on, let's get my favorite. Let's get the wealthy to pay their fair share. Let's shut down some of those loopholes.
Well, and I guess two things. Number one is make the wealthy pay their fair share. We already know that Illinois is the number one migration state in the country. More people leave Illinois than any other state. So when you start raising even higher taxes on people, that just gives the ability for them to leave. And it doesn't generate that much money. It does generate some, but even if we put the income tax, to show you how bad they were spending the last couple of years, even if we raised the income tax back up and kept it at 5%, you're still billions of dollars short this year in their budget. And so raising taxes alone, even if you did that, can't fill the mess that these guys created.
State Senator Dave Syverson with us. It's Rauner and Scot here on WROK. Something that Mayor Morrissey was not real happy about, he was tweeting yesterday as the speech was going on, was kind of a combination. One was the proposal by the governor for pension reform that would not include police and fire. combined with the proposal to cut back on some of the money to the local governments from the state. He said that would be devastating to the city of Rockford as they try to manage their budget. What are you hearing on those proposals? Anyone else concerned about the combination of those things?
Well, there is some, and again, this is a starting point, but there is some concern that was raised. We heard from a number of mayors and from the municipal league about the fact that there has to be something done ultimately with police and fire, and it may be something that they pass that's maybe going forward that just says, like we did with the state of Illinois, new hires have to be in a different system so that the system can ultimately be resolved. So there may be some discussions with that. The argument that Rauner has made was the state has been increasing funding to local governments by over 4% a year every single year. So we've been increasing funding at a rate faster than revenues are coming into us and faster than the rate of inflation. And so they're just saying we need to bring that in. So the average for the last 10 years would still have been well over 3% increase a year. But again, my guess is there'll be some compromise. But if you increase funding to the local government, that means you've got to find somewhere else to then further cut to make that budget balanced. So that's where it's going to be a difficult. It's going to be a difficult game the next couple of months now, trying to craft a budget, because everything we add on means we've got to take something else off.
One of the people upset about what the governor had to say yesterday was Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, looking at Chicago losing $135 million in income tax distributions, which Emanuel said is, of course, going to lead to sharp cuts in city services.
The city that has the lowest property taxes in the United States of America, lowest property taxes in the United States of America, is talking about losing $100 million. They get 34% of every dollar in education money in the state of Illinois, and they only represent 18% of the students in Illinois. It's a crock what we give Chicago. So there's no crocodile tears from me for the city of Chicago. Let them do a referendum. Let them bring their property taxes up even close to what Rockford's are before they start asking for more money. So he's in an election, so he's playing that election game, but let Chicago pay their fair share, and then I'll be happy to talk to them.
State Senator Dave Syverson with us here for a couple more minutes. It's Riley and Scott here on WROK. Something I was very pleased to hear, Dave, was the governor talking about re-implementing the Medicaid reforms, the SMART Act. Some of the things that Democrats in just a year or two began to turn back and spend more money on and stop some of the scrubbing of the rolls. If you're looking for real savings in the budget, re-implementing the SMART Act, scrubbing the rolls, making sure Medicaid is going to the people who actually need it is one of the key ways to do so, I think. I was happy to hear the governor talk about that yesterday.
Well, and that's a very good point. And when we talk about scrubbing the rolls and the Medicaid reform, for your listeners, what we're saying is we hired a firm and we went through and actually verified everybody that was on Medicaid to see if they qualify. Because in Illinois, once you sign up for Medicaid, you're always in Medicaid until you take yourself off. So we went through there and we found 200,000 people on Medicaid that should not be on Medicaid. And so we said, we need to take those people off. They don't qualify. And of course, Governor Quinn, as soon as he found that out, he fired the firm and they stopped doing the work. So that's a no-brainer. That's low-hanging fruit. We need to implement that and get, the goal of that is to help people that truly need help. These people, they don't qualify. They should not be on our plans. And so we need to, as quickly as possible, start cleaning those people off and getting them off of our system.
Hey, Dave, before we let you go, looking through the capital plans that were laid out by the governor, it looked like good news because the money, any money for the third airport in Chicago, the Piatone Airport, appeared to be canceled out, which would be good news for RFD. Is that what you understand, too?
Yes, and we knew that during the campaign when I had brought Bruce out to the Rockford Airport, or Governor Rauner out to the Rockford Airport, and toured the facility so he could really see the capabilities of it, and talk to him about the the results of Peatone, who wants to make it a cargo airport now just to directly compete with Rockford. I think he realized that why subsidize an airport that's just going to go after another Illinois airport's business. So it doesn't mean that it's dead, because you got 600,000 people in Will County that are fighting for this, and so they're not going to roll over. But the delay clearly helps us and gives us the an upper hand in fighting to stop that waste of money.
State Senator Dave Syverson, as always, we appreciate you taking time out of your day for us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.